Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel here once again, and sorry I was away for a little while, about a week or so. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. My office chair broke in my room, so I'm waiting on a new one in the mail. But in the meantime, I've changed locations, and we're gonna get back into the swing of things. Don't worry, you guys are still gonna get your reviews. I have another Royal Rumble review that I'm actually gonna talk about after this, and then I'm gonna do my two that were supposed to be for the week. You guys will still get those, even if it bleeds into February, and then also the crime analysis for this month. Next week as well. I still haven't decided who I'm doing, but I'll likely have a decision by probably Sunday or so. But nonetheless, let's get right into this review, which we are starting a new saga of movies, sort of. It's more so just a trilogy of movies. We are going to be looking at the Batman Dark Knight Trilogy, a trilogy that really made that in a lot of people's eyes made superhero movies cool again. Now, Batman, not a superhero. He's a detective. He's a hero. He doesn't have any superpowers, but for a lot of people, this is what got them back into superhero movies, and seemed to be the blueprint for a lot of what they would do with characters in general when it comes to movies. And we're starting off with Batman Begins. So, for starters, as always, I'm not a professional movie reviewer, just a man who enjoys a good time, and for the most part, I had a pretty good time with this movie. Not gonna lie, with all the hype that the Dark Knight trilogy gets, I didn't end up enjoying. I still enjoyed this movie for the most part, but not as much as I thought I would. And it's probably because it's the first movie, so we're still well, we're still kind of getting used to stuff, and this is a new take on Batman by director Christopher Nolan. So this is a new take, new direction, and everything, and very different from some of the other stuff. This Batman takes itself quite a bit more seriously. Christopher Nolan's interpretation of Batman, and it's one of the things that really made Christian Bale, the actor, rise to prominence as this movie. So without further ado, let's not dilly dally anymore. Let's get right into it. So for those of you who have seen these reviews before already, you kind of already know how this works. For those of you who haven't, pretty much I'm going to be talking about what I liked and what I disliked about the movie, and what I liked is the gritty, dark Batman and everything. Not quite as campy as like other stuff. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last Batman movie before this was Batman and Robin, which yeah, but yeah. So now how that it's shifted to this Batman. I think a lot of people probably appreciate it a bit more because Batman, definitely a man with very grim stories. Definitely gone through a lot, and they established stuff really well. They give him a motive. The Wayne family, the Wayne family doing so much for Gotham just to be gunned down. So Bruce Wayne slash Batman wants to clean up the city, wants to defend the city and everything, and bring it back to prominence. He receives training from the League of Assassins, which introduced us to Ra's al Ghul, which I think Liam Neeson did a pretty good job as Ra's al Ghul. There are some aspects of Ra's al Ghul I wasn't really a fan of, but we'll get into. But we also have Scarecrow here, aka Jonathan Crane, in which he definitely did a really good job. The actor, which I forget his name, but then again, I am very bad with names. But unless it's someone like I really know, like Liam Neeson, but he did a really good job as Jonathan Crane slash Scarecrow. Very handsome man, but yeah, so Scarecrow is in here. We got Odd Batman and everything doing some Batman stuff. all of his gadgets and weaponry and stuff. We got Lucius Fox this time around, which I think is one of those cases where he was introduced for this movie and then he became a character in the comics. I could be wrong about that. In fact, I probably am. So let me know if I am in the comments below. But Lucius Fox, of course, played by Morgan Freeman. Of course, as Alfred is here. Love interest is here. Batman's had quite a few love interests over the years. Some action, some pretty cool stuff. Really good stuff for the most part, and I think it's a really good beginning to show this new take on Batman, this grittier, more serious take on Batman, and I think Christopher Nolan did a pretty good job. For the most part, because in terms of what I didn't really like about the movie, there was a few things. There was quite a few things. For starters, the Ra's al Ghul fake out where you think it's this guy who's Ra's al Ghul, but no, it's actually Liam Neeson's character that's actually Ra's al Ghul. I feel like the twist kind of fell flat. I don't think it had the impact that Christopher Nolan was going for. It was an interesting little twist, and the only reason I didn't really see it coming is because this is my first time seeing the movie. But I think the twist does kind of fall flat. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a twist, so it actually wasn't him. And so the other guy just straight up dies. And Batman thinks he killed, or Bruce Wayne. I may interchange between the two. Bruce Wayne thinks he killed Ra's al Ghul, but in actuality, he killed the guy who's pretending to be Ra's al Ghul. So, and then the real Ra's al Ghul was actually saved by Batman, and he's essentially rewarded by Ra's al Ghul trying to beat up Batman. And but I feel like the fake out was, it was what it was. I'm surprised also with Ra's al Ghul's lore that the Lazarus Pit wasn't here. It's probably going to be in the later trilogy, I'm guessing, but no mention of the Lazarus Pit, at least not one I could find. Another thing was some of the, there was some flashback sequences and stuff. I feel like those were a bit weird and shot kind of jarringly, where it was very weird cuts. And there was some weird cuts and effects in the movie by Christopher Nolan here, and it's one of those things where you can kind of appreciate where it's what he's going for, and you can kind of see the vision a little bit. Oh, okay, I see what he was trying to do here, but I feel like it doesn't really work out as well as he would have intended. The next thing is that I feel like the movie is very latter half heavy. The movie starts out kind of slow. As Bruce Wayne loses his parents, grows up to become the Batman, and then things pick up when he becomes Batman. That's when all the really, really cool stuff happens. There was some cool stuff Bruce Wayne training and everything, but I feel like it takes a little bit to get to the actual Batman stuff in the movie. And the movie about 2 hours and 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, but it takes a little bit to actually get to the Batman stuff, and I feel like the movie kind of suffers a little bit because of it. But I get it, they had to establish him and everything, but I wish there was a little more Batman. And finally, I do appreciate them trying to give both Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul time to shine. But I feel like Scarecrow kind of takes a back seat and could have been used a lot more in this movie. But he had to essentially share the spotlight with Ra's al Ghul. Apparently Scarecrow is going to get more time to shine in the Dark Knight Trilogy, as some people have said. But I do wish he got some more time to shine here. So what I would have done is either not have Scarecrow at all and just focus on Ra's al Ghul as the villain and everything. Having him have connections with Carmine Falcone, I should say. Bit of an interesting twist. I did forget to mention Carmine Falcone is in this in the movie. Having him work with Falcone, I think could have worked out, or just leave Ra's al Ghul dead, at least for the movie, and then the latter half focused on Scarecrow. Just so both can get time to shine, and then Ra's al Ghul at the end, put in the Lazarus pit and brought back to life. But that's just me. He still had a pretty good time for the most part with this movie, and I can't wait to see where the Dark Knight Trilogy goes from here. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below. Did you dislike the movie? Did you dislike my review of the movie? Are you excited for me covering the Dark Knight Trilogy? Never really seen these movies, unfortunately, growing up. Mostly because my parents growing up were kind of strict, and these movies, especially with the Dark Knight, have some yay moments. But can't wait to see them, and can't wait to see how Heath Ledger does as Joker. I heard he's really solid and a fantastic Joker. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to get further into the Dark Knight trilogy. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another movie review. So, today we continue our foray into the Dark Knight Trilogy with The Dark Knight. For starters, I'm not professional movie reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man, who enjoys a good time. And I definitely, for sure, had a really good time with this movie. Now, I'm gonna lie, this is a huge step up from Batman Begins. Don't get me wrong, Batman Begins was okay, but this was a huge step up, in my opinion, in terms of overall movie quality and everything. And it makes sense because usually the first movie in any type of trilogy or franchise or anything like that usually probably isn't gonna be the best but this definitely was a huge step up from Batman Begins, which I am definitely happy for. So, it's a movie that's been hyped up for years. A lot of people have talked about it. This is one of my dad's favorite movies. He's for something that we'll get into in a little while, and yeah, so let's get right into it. So, for those of you who've seen these types of reviews from me before, you kind of already know how this works. But for those of you who haven't, for those of you who are new here, first of all, welcome. But also, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and what I disliked about the movie. Starting with what I liked, there is a lot to like here. I feel like I said, the movie overall much better than the first one, and there's more action, and there's more drama and everything. The first one had some of that, but this one takes into another gear. There's more Batman stuff. The first one was kind of establishing Batman, and then was very bottom heavy when it comes to the Batman stuff. The Batman stuff didn't really happen toward the middle of the end of the first movie, but this one a lot more Batmaning, if that's even a term. And so overall, just really good stuff. A lot of the stuff that the first movie established has been improved this time around in The Dark Knight and everything. We get some new characters. We get some returning faces and everything, and some of the characters get expanded upon a little more, which is very nice. Everything about the first movie just elevated quite a bit, including the villains this time around. The two major villains in this movie, the first starting off with Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, who as a result of the main villain that we have to talk about here, definitely, alright, quick edit there, but the main villain that we have to talk about, which we'll get to, but Harvey Dent / Two-Face, I thought was really well done. His character design looks really cool. The half of his face being scarred looked kind of gross. Actually, it's more his left side that got scarred, but still looked really gross, and it looked almost a bit cartoony, but they managed to pull it off and make it look very realistic, and and how he slips more into like the chance and everything, he leaning on the coin aspects and everything that his character's known for, and how he's pretty much driven mad later on into the movie. I think was really well done, and the fact that he's like the last villain that Batman takes out, I think was a very nice touch, especially how they've been building him this time around. On, or not necessarily this time around, but how they've been building him throughout the movie and everything. And we see Harvey Dent most of the movie, and then after the accident, which we'll get into, then he becomes Two-Face, goes totally unhinged and everything. So, yeah, I thought that was really well done, and I thought the character was established really well. A lot of his motives were established really well. How he slips into villainy was established very well, and they do quite a bit of they do some foreshadowing, not just with the coin, but also the quote that's been quoted many times in memes on the internet and stuff. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and that is exactly what happened with Harvey Dent here. So all that, I think, was done very well. But the main villain, the Joker. Shout out to the Joker, who I'm wearing on my shirt here. But oh my God, the Joker in this movie, he's so well done. And Heath Ledger earned that Oscar. R.I.P. to him, of course, but he definitely earned that Oscar. What a fantastic character. And I feel like with Joker, usually how it's done is he's very chaotic. He wants a lot of chaos and everything. He causes a lot of chaos, but he's also very smart and clever, and knows how to push buttons, and usually thinks ahead and everything. And at least that's usually how it's done. Sometimes it's more just about the chaos, but usually thinking ahead and everything. And that's definitely what they do here with the Joker in this movie. How Joker is almost always like 10 steps ahead of not just the police department, but Batman, pretty much playing, and society as a whole, pretty much playing everyone against each other, or for the most part, including the ending where there's two boats and two bombs, and he wants them to blow each other up. And the whole like motive behind the Joker, or not about money or anything, it's about sending a message, and that message being that society is corrupt, that they'll turn on each other once a little bit of chaos and lunacy is placed in, and that's exactly how it's conveyed here. And he's definitely a constant presence throughout the movie. He has some great jokes and some great one-liners and everything, and you can definitely tell that he is somewhat right to an extent, as we've seen in the movie, but he's definitely also a crazed maniac madman, and that's a dynamic that I feel like the movie pulls off really well. Oh, they don't lean too much to one side, too much of the lunacy, and then too much of like too much of like the message and everything. They come together to form a perfect combination of elements when it comes to the Joker's character. Excuse me. And I feel like that is what adds depth to the character, and it's what allows the character to really be fleshed out and to really carry the narrative of the movie. Like, a Joker was a joy to watch this time around, and the fact that they kept his identity and everything very mysterious, because that's another one of the major elements of Joker's character throughout like the comics and everything, and almost every incarnation of him that's appeared in like movies and stuff, is that he's very mysterious. You don't really know his identity. Apparently they have explored it somewhat in the comics, but otherwise you don't really know his identity, because you're not supposed to. They kept it very mysterious, is to add that level of mystique and intrigue. Now to compare Heath Ledger's Joker here or to a couple other Jokers that I'm familiar with. The first being Jack Nicholson from the 1989 Batman movie directed by Tim Burton, and then the other comparison I have is Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in the Joker movie that came out in 2019. Those Jokers, I kind of compared and contrasted them to the Joker we have here, which is Heath Ledger's Joker. When it comes to Jack Nicholson's Joker, it's definitely more like comedic. It is somewhat dark in a lot of cases, but it's also got that comedic, almost like fun-loving nature. Because while that movie obviously was PG-13 and everything, so they had the freedom to add some darkness to the character. They didn't go full force with it. You could tell they still, while the Joker obviously was still chaotic and causing havoc and everything, and they still wanted to keep the character in more like a fun vein. If that makes any sense, let me know if I'm making any sense in the comments. But yeah, so keeping the Joker in kind of like that fun, causing chaos but having fun with it sort of vein, in which I think is very well done and a very good. I think it worked very well in terms of that movie, because as that movie, he definitely had those elements in it. There were some dark elements, but there was also a bit of fun to it as well. It kind of a campy nature to it. So it worked for that movie. For this movie, I feel like this Joker are very grim, very gritty and everything. And it fits not just the movie, but the whole vibe of the Dark Knight Trilogy, where it's supposed to be this grim, dark twist on Batman and his lore and everything. And so I think the Joker, or in that regard, fits the Dark Knight Trilogy in that respect. But then going to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, that one more being a cautionary tale and more about a message or a moral, that being people with mental illnesses, how they're treated in society, and how they are how they're looked down upon and almost driven to insanity in a lot of cases. So that one was more about sending a message in that regard. Plus that one was rated R, which has a really nice choice to show the grittiness of that. And so that one's like completely dark and everything. So which Joker is the best? I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you like the fun, somewhat campy, but also kind of grim nature, or grim sort of dark nature, then you'll go with the Jack Nicholson Joker. If you prefer like the message and everything, and like the raising awareness and everything, then I'm sure you'll go with the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which Joaquin Phoenix did a very, very phenomenal job as Joker. And I imagine that's partially because he and Heath Ledger were friends and everything, in which Ledger was friends with both Joaquin and River Phoenix as well, also a friend of the family and everything. So I imagine Joaquin Phoenix based a lot of his Joker here on Heath Ledger's Joker. Which, speaking of which, if you like almost like both of those, definitely more like grim and gritty and everything, then you'll lean more towards this Joker. But the fact that you have three different versions of Joker, essentially the same character told three different ways, I think is definitely a very good testament to definitely a very good testament to Joker as a character, and being able to write him very well, and how well he's been written in like movies and TV shows and stuff, and just as an overall character in comic books and movies, what have you. So I think those engines for the Joker work really well. But that's enough of the rambling. I just had to talk about that because Joker was phenomenal in this movie. And of course, some of the returning characters, such as Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox, Christian Bale as Batman, etc. They still did their roles very, very well this time around. And the idea of like the whole cat and mouse game where Joker's constantly on the run and the police and Batman have to chase him as he's pulling these things off, and being clever about stuff, almost beating them at every turn until Batman finally gets him in the end. I think was really well, and it kept the story going. It kept the movie going. There wasn't too many times where the movie seemed to stall. There was a nice ebb and flow to it, and that's because not just how the character was written, but how the narrative was written, and being able to keep the movie going, and not having too many moments where it stalls, where you're sitting there like this at the screen. There's not really too many of those moments. Everything keeps going, and everything is paced really well. Not like too fast. It's not like a breakneck speed. Boom, 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 here, where nothing gets time to marinate. There's plenty of times for things to marinate and simmer and everything. Plus, it probably helps that this movie was about 2 hours and 32 minutes. Although, maybe take away a couple minutes for credits and everything. But it definitely helps that the movie was a bit on the lengthy side to allow things to simmer. But the movie had a very nice pace. So everything was allowed to really cook and to simmer and to work out and everything. In terms of what I didn't really like about the movie, there were a couple issues that I had with like Batman Begins that kind of popped up here, such as like the Christopher Nolan's style of directing, where there's a lot of weird choice cuts and everything. Thankfully, not as many this time around, which is fantastic. But there were a couple of them in there, which is nice. But then again, he did have about 3 years to work on that, and it seems like he did. I don't think I addressed this in the Batman Begins review, but that fake voice that Bruce Wayne puts on as Batman is kind of weird. Like, in other incarnations, the voices will be switched up, but it still sounds somewhat natural. Like, for example, like Kevin Conroy's Batman in like Batman the Animated Series or the Arkham games. R.I.P. to Kevin Conroy, but how he did it was Bruce Wayne. He talked a bit more softly and everything, versus Batman, and it's definitely more like big and menacing and everything. And I think that might be what they were trying to go for here with Christian Bale's Batman and everything, but I don't think he works out the way they envisioned it will work out. I can, like I said, so one thing I always say is I can usually tell the intent, and I can usually appreciate the intent, and I can tell they kind of intended that like what I was just describing with Kevin Conroy's Batman. I think that was the route they were going for, but it didn't really pan out that way. But I can at least appreciate the intent, which is good. But yeah, the fake voice is a little weird. But speaking of Bruce Wayne, I wish there was a bit more Bruce Wayne in here. Usually the thing about Batman-related media is that usually there's a nice balance between the Bruce Wayne stuff and the Batman stuff. I feel like the first movie had a little bit too much Bruce Wayne, but now this movie has a little bit too much Batman, and if that makes any sense. And Bruce Wayne does show up a lot, but oftentimes it's doing Batman stuff, not like Bruce Wayne, like just an everyday life being, the playboy philanthropist and everything, and being like the the rich guy of Gotham and everything. I wish there was a little bit more of that this time around. To have like a nice balance and everything, but maybe that's just me. Maybe you want a little more Batman as opposed to the Bruce Wayne stuff. But I feel like having a balance of both, and honestly, that's with any superhero and their alter ego. Normally, you want a balance of both, where it's the regular character and then the superhero. Like, if you watch a Spider-Man movie, you want to see a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but you also want to see Peter Parker stuff as well. If that makes any sense, let me know if it's making any sense in the comments below. But pretty much having that balance of like the Bruce Wayne versus the Batman stuff. And this one, thankfully, it's not too unbalanced. There is still plenty of Bruce Wayne stuff, but I wish there was a little bit more. But then again, maybe that's just me. But let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Thanks for watching this review, of course. If you did enjoy it, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see it as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the movie, your thoughts on my review. Did you like, dislike the movie? Did you like, dislike my review? And what's your favorite Joker out of the three that I mentioned? Or if you have another Joker. I think another really good Joker is Mark Hamill's Joker. Even though that one's not live action, that's more of a voiceover. And how he interacts with Kevin Conroy's Batman. Always really good stuff. But sadly, Mark Hamill doesn't want to do Joker anymore because Kevin Conroy unfortunately passed away, so he won't be doing Batman anymore, obviously. So Mark Hamill doesn't really want to do any more Joker stuff, which honestly is understandable. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another movie review. So, we kick off the month of March, because it's going to be uploaded on the first day of March on Wednesday. We kick off the beginning, sort of with the end, and we conclude the Batman Dark Knight Trilogy with The Dark Knight Rises. What a journey it's been. But we'll cover more about it in the retrospective. As for this review, as always, I'm not professional movie reviewer or analyst. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and for the most part, I had an okay time with this movie. Is it as good as The Dark Knight? I wouldn't say so. Is it as bad as Batman Begins? Even though when I say like bad, I mean like. Batman Begins not as good as like Dark Knight, but is it in the same vein as Batman Begins? Not really. I wouldn't put it below Batman Begins, but I would not put it above The Dark Knight. I feel like this is a polarizing movie. This is a movie he definitely that people either really like or really hate. And I can kind of see both sides of the paradigm. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Starting with what I liked about the movie and everything. A lot of the stuff that they got right, it just in the trilogy as a whole, for the most part, is still intact here. You know, Bruce Wayne as Batman and everything, and how he goes about, and stuff that. There's a lot of stuff in the shadows, if that makes any sense, where a lot of stuff goes on behind the public eye in terms of what Bruce Wayne is doing and everything versus what Batman's doing. And we kind of see the Bruce Wayne kind of picking up from the Dark Knight, where he's like unsure if he wants to be Batman anymore, unsure if the world needs Batman, but eventually goes into the saddle as he confronts the new main antagonist for this movie, which we'll get to. A couple cool twists and everything, such as like the person Bruce Wayne sells the company to and trusts the company to turns out to be Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. There's some nice action and everything. Catwoman and in this movie did a pretty decent job. So just some of the stuff that they did that was good in the Dark Knight trilogy as a whole, I think for the most part carries through here in the Dark Knight Rises. Some of the stuff I wish they could have did a little bit better, but for the most part, a lot of stuff that if you enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they did throughout the first two movies here in the Dark Knight trilogy, I think you'll appreciate it here as well. Oh, and I believe this is the longest out of all three movies in the Dark Knight trilogy. So there's a lot of time for things to really go and flesh out and everything. And culminating with what you think is Batman's death, but it turns out or Batman slash Bruce Wayne's death, but it turns out how Bruce Wayne, in pretty much living kind of the quiet life, kind of stepping out of the limelight both as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, and fulfilling Alfred's wish for him to like give up the superhero life, or even though Batman's not really a superhero, he's a detective. There's a big difference because Batman doesn't have any superpowers, but pretty much giving up that life, hanging out with Selena Kyle, and pretty much being happy and getting to live his life and everything, and knowing Gotham is saved, at least for the most part. There's a couple returning faces. He says there's the obvious ones such as Batman, Alfred, Jim Gordon, everything. Scarecrow, this time actually gets to do a little bit more. Turns out he's somewhat involved with the main antagonist, which we'll get to. I'm not naming him just yet because we're gonna get to him obviously, but Scarecrow slash Jonathan Crane, and gets a little more to do than in the Dark Knight. Even though it's even less than in Batman Begins, and it does kind of suck because I feel like the Scarecrow, aka Jonathan Crane's involvement, kind of goes down and down and down even more, or as the trilogy progresses. He's not even wearing the Scarecrow mask this time around, which kind of sucks. But yeah, so a lot of the stuff that they did right throughout the trilogy, he makes his way in here, or again, and once again, like how the characters interact with each other and how things are fleshed out and everything. And a lot of that good stuff makes it in here. But in terms of what I didn't like, where it kind of falls flat at almost, starting with the antagonist this time, which is Bane. So Bane, right off the bat, I gotta say it, too skinny. Bane, he is big in the movie. He is fairly large. He's played by Tom Hardy, who ironically also played another like big sized villain later on in Venom. But Bane, he is big. Like you can tell he's physically like strong and everything, and he does knock around Batman. And they even do the iconic scene from like the Batman Nightfall comic where Bane breaks the Batman's back and everything. But I do wish he was a lot more buff. Because the thing about Bane in the comics is he towers over Batman, mostly because of the venom toxin. There's venom again. The toxin that allows him to be all buff and stuff. Allows him to be all like super big and gassed up and strong and everything. They do have some of like Bane's qualities there that makes it in, such as like his intellect, the fact that he already knows Batman's identity as Bruce Wayne, which he figures out in the comics and everything, and he also figures out in like the Arkham games as well, where he figures out Bruce Wayne's identity, and he's able to take over and everything, so showing that intellect. But in terms of like physical appearance, I wish they would have worked on it a little bit more. Even if it was like some like special effects, which they might have looked a little cheesy, but at least Bane would have looked buff and everything. But as a main antagonist, I think they kind of tried to go the same route that they did with Joker, or where he's trying to go against the norm, and try to cause chaos and everything, and try to disrupt the order of things, and that worked for Joker. But Bane, I think, it almost comes across as a rehash a little bit, if that makes any sense, where it's not as good as it could have been, because they're kind of going to the old formula of, oh, we did this for Joker, surely we can do this for Bane as well. But the thing is, I don't think it really works the way they intended it for it to work. He does have his interesting moments as an antagonist. He's interesting for the most part, but that rehashing, I think, is what kind of drags the movie down a little bit. That, and in terms of action, this movie is very bottom heavy, similar to like the first one, where there's a little bits of action sprinkled throughout, but then there's a whole bunch of action later on. That's kind of what the first movie did. The second movie, there was action constantly throughout, which it's a superhero movie, so you want like a bunch of action throughout. But the first one, it was sprinkled in a little bit. The first one even sprinkled in a little bit more towards the beginning, and then put a lot of it towards the back. That's kind of what they did here for the Dark Knight Rises. So taking that aspect, which is a little bit disappointing, which because obviously yes, because there's a narrative and everything, and you obviously want the character building and everything, especially in this trilogy, which is known for its character building. And, you definitely want character building, and you want the narrative. You want a good narrative. You want a compelling narrative that you can follow along with. But you also want action as well, because it's a superhero movie. Superhero movies usually have action and everything, which this movie does have. And to its credit, the action that they shove in the bottom half, there is a lot of it, but they could have put a little more of it towards like the front. And it's a bit bottom heavy for my liking, but maybe that's just me. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with that, and if you disagree with that, that is totally fine. But yeah, so a little heavy on the back end and everything. But otherwise, a pretty decent movie. Nice way to wrap up the Dark Knight Trilogy, and that is the Dark Knight Trilogy wrapped up here in the Nigelverse. So thank you all so much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the movie, your thoughts on my review of the movie. Did you dislike the movie? Did you dislike my thoughts on the movie? Let me know what your favorite and least favorite movies from the Dark Knight Trilogy, if you've seen them, and do you think I did the reviews of them justice? So what I'm gonna do for the Dark Knight Trilogy, my reviews of them, is I'm going to edit them together into a compilation. So if you miss the reviews for the other two movies in the Dark Knight Trilogy, which of course is Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, you can go and check those out so you can watch all three of them at once. But then also what we're gonna do, and if I'm gonna do this. If not this week, then next week, the latest. Of course, our retrospective, talking about the high points and the low points of the trilogy, my favorite moments from the trilogy, my least favorite moments from the trilogy, my favorite, pretty much my favorite and least favorite everything in terms of the trilogy, the things I like, things I dislike, all that stuff. Pretty similar to how I did with the other retrospectives I did on the MCU and these Skywalkers, the Star Wars Skywalker saga, and the Spyro trilogy. So if you haven't already, go check out those retrospectives, and as I'm going to start preparing for the Dark Knight Trilogy retrospective. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for being on this journey with me as we looked at the Dark Knight Trilogy, and let me know what other saga movies you guys want me to check out as well. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do next. I'm thinking about doing maybe the X-Men movie. But if you have another saga of movies that you want me to check out, let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll let you guys go now, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.